How you guys doing? It's Captain Spencer Clark here. Today what we're going to talk about is guided fishing trips. So when it comes to going on a guided fishing trip, a couple things you gotta ask yourself. What exactly are you looking for to get out of the whole experience of hiring a professional fishing guide? So I think sometimes, with guiding, people have the expectation that you're going to go out, you're going to catch a lot of fish, or you're going to catch a lot of big fish. And while that is ultimately the goal, it shouldn't be the main focus of your guided fishing trip. Now, most of the time we get into a lot of fish and we catch a ton of fish, on our guided trips. Fishing's been really good down here at Table Rock Lake. But one of the things that, I've always kind of hoped that people would get out of booking a guided fishing trip with me wasn't even, the whole part about catching a ton of fish. It's more of getting to go out there on the lake with me and just see the way that I approach fishing, and how I fish different spots, how I pick out what spots we're going to fish, and learn something from the trip. Oftentimes in bass fishing, there's a couple different things that are going on at any given time on the lake. You'll have a couple patterns where you're going to catch a lot more numbers of fish, which works really well if your whole goal of the trip is to catch a ton of fish. There might be a couple patterns going on where you're not going to get a whole lot of bites, but when you do get one, it's going to be a real quality fish. So keeping that in mind, a lot of people, they book a trip, maybe their main goal is just to go out and catch a bunch of fish. Some people, they might be looking to book a guided trip so that they can kind of see, the way that I do things, what baits I use, how I select different areas to fish for the time of year, how I present my baits. They want to learn more about how the lake fishes, what areas of the lake are good, what spots are good. And that's really too, like, a big part of, being a guide. Like, what I hope to share with people is just my knowledge on how you can catch more fish. Give them a couple different baits that maybe you don't hear a whole lot of people talking about, what colors work best, what depth and what types of cover the fish use most of the year. When I'm out guiding, it's not just so much too about like catching the fish that we're catching. I try to explain, different locations, different parts of the lake that work a little better, different times of the year, what I might do in the spring versus now versus fall. Why we're fishing these locations. As a guide, I get to listen to some of the feedback too from my customers that have booked with other guides, and a lot of times what happens is they'll say that, I booked this other guy, we went fishing, we caught a few fish, but I never really got much info as to why we were fishing, where we were fishing, why we were doing what we were doing, why we picked a certain bait versus another. So those are all the things that I hope to convey to my clients on a guided fishing trip. And so I guess like one question for people that I would ask is, say if you go on a guided trip and you're catching a bunch of fish, would you like to fish one or two spots and just make it a trip where you catch a bunch of fish? Or would you like to kind of see some of the different places that I go to catch fish, how I catch them, and my approach to finding fish throughout the day? Because each day is different on the lake. If you fish a lot, you'll know that no matter what, no matter how good that you get on the fish and you find them, every day is a little bit different out there on the water. And that's because each hour, the angle of the sun is changing, the wind's changing, the lake level might be changing. It can change overnight. I've been on lakes before where they've dropped like 2 foot of water out of the lake in one day. It happens like that. So I don't know. Don't really know like so much like where this video that I'm making is going and like the topic, but I guess I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about, the different the different ways of looking at booking a guided fishing trip and trying to see, you know, what value you can get out of it. I think if you only book a fishing trip with a guide because you just want to catch fish, that's a large part of it. Everybody wants to catch fish, but also I think a good way to look at it is trying to understand more about, you know, the different baits, the different areas of the lake, you know, maybe the depth, how the guide's using his electronics to figure out the bite. All those things add up, and if you kind of look at the big picture and take it as a learning experience, I think that's the way you get the most out of hiring a fishing guide. So I don't know, guys, leave some comments on what you think, and at least if anything, hopefully this video gave you a couple things to think about next time you book a guided trip.